Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to this week's recap of the Lansing Watchdog, your trusted source for small business news. As always, my name is Jacob Manning.
And I'm Kelly Saunders.
And Kelly, we've talked before about how Michigan's legislature has been slow to move on legislation this year. What can you tell us about a deal that the House and the Senate came to last week?
Last Thursday, the House and Senate reached a deal on an issue that's kept them at odds for most of this month. For some background, in 2018, Michigan entered the Interstate Medical Licensure Compact, or IMLC. This compact is a multi state agreement that automatically allows physicians to practice in Michigan without specifically completing training here. Physicians with medical licenses in other states who are also a part of the compact qualify in all states who are members of the compact. This agreement has become increasingly important in a world of telehealth and virtual visits. Michigan's status in the compact was set to expire on March 28th of this year, which had many licensees worried that they would soon be unable to practice here and left many providers concerned about workforce shortages. Both the Michigan House and Senate had each passed their own bills to renew Michigan's status in the compact, but neither would pass the other chamber's version. The House's version was sponsored by Representative Riley Linting, who represents a part of the Downriver community and who is in a very competitive district. She became a champion for the issue. So you had the House insisting her version pass and the Senate refusing. The two sides eventually came to a deal when the House agreed to pass a different bill sponsored by Senator Kevin Hertel, a Democratic state senator in a competitive seat as well, in exchange for the passage of Representative Linting's bill. The Senate will likely take up the bill on Tuesday to extend the compact, and the governor is expected to sign the bill before Michigan's status expires. Now, Jacob, can you give us an update on how candidates are spending money so far in this year's election?
Yeah, so our partners at MERS released a compiled list of how candidates are spending so far based on data collected by Ad Impact. In the Michigan governor's race, the top spender so far is unsurprisingly Perry Johnson. From the time the data was collected, Johnson had spent nearly 12.7 million, with nearly 8.1 million of that being spent on broadcast advertisements and more than $2.4 million going towards streaming. The pro-Duggan PAC, Put Progress First, has spent more than $8 million in broadcast ads, mainly targeted in the areas outside of Detroit. The emphasis so far has been on the Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek area, the Lansing area, and the Saginaw Flint area. The group has also spent more than $1.5 million on streaming ad buys. Duggan's campaign has spent nearly $1 million on digital and social media ad buys, too. Former Speaker of the House Tom Leonard has spent more than $413,000 on streaming advertising, and former Attorney General Mike Cox has spent $86,000 on digital ads. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson has spent more than $72,000 on digital ads. Now, on the Senate side, for the open U.S. Senate seat, most of the ad spend has been on digital rather than on broadcast, with State Senator Mallory McMorrow leading the pack with $1.2 million going towards digital. Abdul Al-Sayed has done $343,000 on digital, almost $100,000 on broadcast TV, and Congresswoman Haley Stevens has spent about $181,000 on digital. Now back to you, Kelly. What can you tell us about a bill that was introduced last week that we are supportive of?
Representative Bill G. Schuette introduced a bill last week that would codify a long-standing Supreme Court precedent into Michigan law. Right now, due to a Supreme Court ruling, professions in Michigan who are already regulated by a licensing or regulatory board are exempt from the Michigan Consumer Protection Act. As a result, these regulatory and licensing bodies have built in their own dispute resolution processes and handle issues of consumer protection without need for lawsuit. However, there has been a continued effort in the legislature and the courts to overturn that precedent and expand the Consumer Protection Act to expose these professions to new lawsuits alongside the regulation and licensing they already have to follow. We have opposed these efforts because they will lead to duplicative red tape and higher costs. Representative Schuette's bill, House Bill 5725, would codify the existing exemption into state law and protect a wide range of licensed professionals from healthcare to barbers from lawsuit abuse. We will continue to keep you updated on this bill and hope that it continues to move through the legislative process. What do you have to close us out for this week, Jacob?
Yeah, so before we go, we wanted to let you know about an upcoming training opportunity that the advocacy team is offering. On May 19th, which is a Tuesday, we will be hosting a training at the SBAM office for how you can engage in the legislative process. The training is called Advocacy Champions and will include tips on how to meet with legislators, how to testify in committee, how to talk with the media, and how to apply for gubernatorial appointments. To sign up for training, follow the QR code in the banner below. That's all we have for you this week. Thanks for tuning in.